Hey, what's up everybody? Ralph here. So today's topic, I'm going to share with you 10 spending habits you want to avoid if you want to build wealth. One thing I like to compare, when it comes to spending habits, one thing I like to compare it to is like developing your fitness, right? Or if you're someone that's trying to lose weight. In order to get the body that you want, you have to have certain habits, right? You have to have a good diet. You have to exercise regularly, right? You have to treat your body the way you need to treat in order to develop the body that you want. So when it comes to spending, it's all about developing habits, right? Like right now, a lot of people have poor spending habits and they have to learn how to develop the good spending habits. And that's usually the difference between someone that's broke and someone that's actually building wealth and they have economic success. Right. So the first thing I want to, the first spending habit that you want to avoid is financing or leasing cars. Now I understand that cars can be is a large expense. So a lot of people, obviously you need vehicles, but for a lot of people, like people are buying cars that they necessarily don't need. All you need is a car that gets you from point A to point B, and that's the most important thing. But the thing is, a lot of people, they want that flashy car. They want to impress their neighbors. They want to impress their friends. When all they need is a car that's going to that's going to do the job. So when you think about financing leasing cars, you need to understand that I think the average monthly cost for financing and leasing cars is anywhere from $500 to $600 now. So that's a huge expense that's going out of your bank account. That's restricting you from building wealth. Not only that, we know these cars depreciate over time. Once you take it off the lot, they depreciate. Although, especially during times like now, 2022. Used cars are worth more than they were, previously. But that's rare. That's a rare instance. Usually cars, and once you take them off the lot, they depreciate. And why would you want to spend that much money on a depreciating asset, right? It's not making you any money, right? So a lot of people are making that mistake that they're financing and leasing these cars because they want to drive the nicest car and let people see, that they're doing well. But all that's doing is costing more money, Now, obviously, if you can afford that, you want to put that, and you can fit that in your budget, then you do that. But most people, a lot of people live in paycheck to paycheck, right? And they have these cars that they can't afford. So if you're someone that's financing and leasing cars, that's one of the things that's helping prevent build wealth, because you're focusing, instead of focusing on building wealth, you're focusing on driving the nicest and latest car. All right. Number two, not having a budget. Now I know that's a scary word for a lot of people. People don't like budgets. The term, just hearing that word, they're just like, they just turn off. But having a budget, especially for someone that doesn't manage their money properly, is essential, right? You need to know the money that's coming in. You need to also know what's coming out. If you ever have any hopes of making sure that you build wealth and making sure that you get your finances in order, having a budget is key. Right? Because you need to know what's coming in. It's like a map of what's going on in your life, and having a budget, knowing what's going on, you're able to plan things out. You need to know, all right, what's coming in, what's coming out. Okay, how can I build for the future? How can I build for certain things that I need in life, and what's hurting me the most in terms of building my wealth? How are you going to know that if you don't have a budget? I think a budget does a great job, and I know a lot of people, and I think for a lot of people when they think of budget, it almost developing a budget and setting up a budget, I think for a lot of people, it forces people to look at themselves and say, oh, this is where I'm messing up at. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They just say, you know what, I don't even want to know what's going on. I just want to spend money and just ignore it, right? They just want to just ignore it and say things are not happening. But it's important to face the truth of why you aren't where you are right now. And a budget does that. The reason why you're not able to save is because you're spending more than you make. And having a budget is going to show you that. But a lot of people like to just avoid it because they don't like the truth of what's going on in their situation. But if you're someone that's looking to build wealth, you have to do it. It's a must. It's just something that you just need to do and face it, and then just and once you go through it, you're like, okay, it's in your face, and you're like, all right, boom, I understand what I need to do. All right. Number three, spending before you save. A lot of people have this issue. Now, if you're someone that's looking to build, what people tend to do is, all right, they have a job, all right, and they're making money, have income coming in. So what they'll do is they'll spend on their money, and then whatever's left is what they will save. But someone that's really about building wealth, that money that they come in, that income, they're gonna take that money, they're either gonna save it or they're gonna invest it, and then they're gonna spend whatever's left. okay? So if you're someone that makes $4,000 and, you know, depending on your budget, your expenses, you're gonna take probably like $2,000 you're gonna invest that, you're gonna save that, and then whatever's left is what you're going to spend. And that forces you to say, all right, I only have $2,000 left to spend. I gotta make sure I'm using that judiciously, right? So you wanna make sure you're like, all right, I gotta manage around this $2,000. And it forces you to do that instead of spend, and then whatever's left, then you start saving. That's not how you're gonna build wealth. That's just gonna get you in more financial trouble. And if there's an emergency, you're not gonna be able to handle it. So you wanna make sure you're putting money aside, you're investing, you're making sure your money grow. Most people like to say they like to pay themselves first, right? Once that money comes in, they're paying themselves first. And then whatever's left, then they'll spend it on bills and whatever the necessities that they need in life. So it's important to change that mindset, right? Instead of spending first and then saving whatever's left at the end of the month, you want to take that money, obviously develop a budget, take that money, save it and invest it, and then whatever's left is what you use, is what you operate with, all right? Number 4, not investing in retirement. I think for a lot of people, we live in a society where people are working, all right? And they think they're gonna, you know, they think they're gonna live a long time, or whatever their mindset is. To say, you know what, I'm not worried about when I get old. Okay, who knows? You know, most people are living longer now, so people just don't have that mindset that, you know, I'm young now. I got a lot of energy. I'm not gonna worry about when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old, and you know, I can't really do the things that I used to do when I was in my 20s. But what people are finding out is when you hit that age of retirement, and you don't have anything saved up, you're relying on Social Security. And if you know anything about Social Security, yes, it's income, but it's there to supplement your retirement. It's not there to take care of. It's not supposed to replace it's not they're supposed to take care of you. It's there to supplement whatever income or retirement funding that you have. But most people don't think like that. They just work, and do not spend. They do not save, or they do not you know, think about retirement or saving money to make sure that they're good when they're retired. And that's an issue, because that's important. Once you're in your 60s and 70s, a lot of people try to, you know, they have their kids, you know, they rely on their kids to take care of them. But you shouldn't have to do that. If you're doing what you're doing in your 20s and 30s, and you're making sure you're putting money aside for retirement, then obviously that money that you have, it will be a good way to take care of you. You don't have to rely on other people to do it for you. So I think it's important that people need to at least like pay attention. And I understand like sometimes you don't make enough money, but I think we need to start making that a focus, making that a priority. We're putting money aside, and whether you have a 401k, IRA, or whatever type of retirement account, at least you're putting money aside to make sure that once you hit that retirement age, that you have money to sustain you until until life is over. And so, you know, if you're not doing it now, start making, obviously create that budget and start putting money aside for retirement, okay? Number 5, carrying credit card debt, all right? Now, we all know credit card debt is is the worst form of debt, primarily because they have the highest interest rate, right? Anywhere from 15 to 24%. I've even heard some people with 29%. Now imagine you had that APR or that interest rate when it came to your investments, right? A 15% return, anyone would take that. But instead of that money coming to you, that money is going out, all right? And that's the worst way to build wealth. Because if your money is going to someone else in someone else's pocket instead of, you know, helping you build your wealth, then you're never going to build wealth. And credit card debt is the worst. You should never be carrying a credit card balance. You should be able to try to pay that off as soon as possible. You should be paying the balance off every month. All right, these are spending habits that you need to make sure you're taking control of. Because if you're carrying a balance, one, depending on, you know, your credit limit, that could be hurting your credit, affecting your credit score, and that could hurt you for future funding, for future funding in the future. But it's a lot of people struggle because they have these types of debt, and the worst way to build wealth is when you have forms of debt that are taking money away from you and going somewhere else. So if you got credit card debt, make sure you're getting rid of that. Make sure that you're paying the balance off every month, because that's going to kill your ability to build wealth in the future. All right, number 6, emotional spending. All right. I know there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of things going on in this world. Everybody stresses out about a lot of things, whether it's work, whether it's family, boyfriend or girlfriend. But you need to understand, when it comes to building wealth, you need to learn how to control your emotions, right? When when you're unable to control your emotion, that's when you make the worst decisions, right? And a lot of people, to soothe that emotion of stress and chaos, they like to emotionally spend, right? They're like, oh, whether it's through food, like buying through food or buying clothes, this is a horrible way to like manage your money, all right? You have to find different ways in order to control that, whatever you're going through emotionally, right? Whether it's going to the gym, right? If you're stressed out and you're going through things, the gym is a great way to curb that emotional stress, right? Instead of using it buying shopping and buying stuff that you don't need, take your butt to the gym and release that stress that way, right? Or, just do a little exercise, go for a run, do whatever you need in order to control that stress, because emotional spending is a horrible way to build wealth, and it's important to control that, right? Number 7, overspending on people that you care about. Now, we all obviously, you care about your friends, your family, your loved ones, and you want to make sure they're happy, they like you. So you want to do, like, when they want to ask you to, let's go out, let's do this. You don't want to say no, right? And obviously nobody wants to feel that way. But sometimes you have to say no. And that's how you get caught up, because when you have all these people, they want to do different things, it can cost you a lot of money. But if you're someone that's trying to build wealth, it's important to stay disciplined in building that wealth. And I'm not saying you got to say no to everyone, like, oh no, I can't do that, I can't do that. But you have to pick and choose what you can and can't do. If every Thursday night, or you're doing, whatever, like every weekend you're spending a whole bunch of money on drinks and whatever, like things that you don't need, you have to figure out a way to create a budget and make sure that you're staying within that budget and you're not overspending. All right? And if you want to create another thing you could do is, like, let's say you have a fun account where you just, it's a fun account where you put money in there for things that you want to do for fun. Right, create an account for that. So whatever's in that account, you can spend that, right? But you need to make sure you're managing that carefully, because it's easy to overspend and spend on things that you don't need and be broke very quickly, because you don't want to say no to your friends and your family, and nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to enjoy their friends and family. They want to spend time with them, because that's life, that's happiness, right? Being able to spend time with your friends and family whenever and how you want. For me, that is, right? When I have friends out there and they want to hang out, I want to be able to be like, you know what, let's go do that. Right, but I'm also smart about it. I'm like, all right, you know what? Right now I can't afford that, or that's not within my budget. So you have to be smart and responsible with it, right? And like I said, as long as you're setting your priorities and you're understanding where your money's going, then you should be able to manage that properly. All right. Number 8, eating out too often. This kills a lot of people, right? People nowadays obviously don't have time to cook. Right? First of all, I don't want to say it's unhealthy, but it's healthier to make your own food as opposed to going to a restaurant where it's oversaturated with salt and you don't know what they're putting in that food. But you're also spending a lot of money on these food items. So if you're able to, instead of go out, make sure you're cooking you're eating in, you're gonna save a lot more money. I think obviously housing costs tends to be the most, one of the biggest spending items in people's budgets. I think food is number 2, right? People spend so much money on food, right, per month. And primarily that's due to because you eat out often, right? Everybody going to the restaurant, people don't cook anymore, people don't eat in anymore, whether they don't have the time, they work too much. But if you want to save money, cook food, and eat in, right? It'll save you a ton of money. You'll find out, like, every month you'll have, if you look at your budget, if you just look at all the times that you eat at a restaurant, check to see how much it is monthly that you're spending, and then see how much money you can save if you just said, I'm gonna eat in today, and bring your friends in. Like, maybe you can get together and then cook together, and then obviously eat in. But you gotta stop eating out. First of all, it's not the most healthiest thing to do. If you're someone that's into fitness, then you understand that cooking your own food, preparing your own food is the best way to get the best results. And then when it comes to building wealth, in your spending habits, eating in is also the best way to get best results into building wealth. All right, number 9, taking from your savings account to invest. Now, we all know that things pop up, right? And they say you want to travel, maybe emergency comes up. It's easy to just dip into your investment accounts and savings. But that's a habit that you don't want to get used to. All right, that's why it's important when I do my allocate my resources. I create budgets. I create a travel account. I create an investment account. You got the emergency fund. I create different accounts for different scenarios. But what people are doing is they have one account, or they have their savings account. And let's say they want to travel. They, I don't have the money here, but let me dip in my savings or investments in order to travel. That's not what you're doing. First of all, if you're taking money away from your investment account, you're stopping yourself from building future wealth, right? You want to make sure that money's sitting in that investment account, building wealth, accumulating, doubling up, and you want to make sure it's sitting there just working and making more money. But if you're always dipping into that account, you're gonna find yourself taking a long time to build wealth. All right, so you want to get out the habit of dipping into that savings or dipping into that investment account in order to fund a certain lifestyle, whether you're trying to travel or you want to buy a TV. You want to make sure you stop doing that, because that's not gonna help you build wealth, right? Number 10, not paying your bills on time, right? This is something, especially for your credit score, right? This is probably the worst thing you could do in terms of like credit score, right? And obviously, if you hurt your credit score, then that's going to cost you in the future when it comes to like buying a home or whatever anything that you want to finance. It's just going to cost you more money to borrow the money. So you want to make sure you make sure you're paying your bills on time, because obviously you want to make sure if you're someone that's managing your money properly, then you already have your bills paid on time, whether it's your mortgage or whatever it is. You've already structured and you organize yourself where that your bills are paid on time. And an easy way, if you're someone that struggles with paying bills on time, make sure you have it on automatic payment, right? Automatic payment. So therefore, you don't even have to think about it. All right, and that's something I figured out myself to do. At first, I used to be like, I like to take control. I don't like to just do things automatically. I like to make sure I know what's coming out of my bank account or what I'm paying for. But once you start having so many things that you have to pay for, it becomes difficult to keep track of everything. So I found that it was much easier to just, automatic bill payment, and then I can review it every month to make sure that everything is correct. But automating everything just makes things so much easier. You want to make sure you're paying your bills on time, because someone that's managing their money properly is making sure that those bills are on time. If your bills aren't paying on time, then clearly there's something wrong in terms of your spending habits and your how you're managing your money, right? So you want to make sure you get those things down. So that's the importance. Like if it's someone that's building wealth, these habits are important to get control of. Because like I said, building wealth is about discipline, it's about commitment, and it's about developing good habits in order to make sure that you're reaching your goal of building wealth. And if you're not maintaining these spending habits, then you obviously have poor habits, and you're not going to reach your goal, right? So those are my 10 spending habits that you want to make sure that you're taking care of, right? So you guys take care. Make sure to hit the like button. If you got any comments or questions, make sure to leave it down below. Hit the share button, and please do not forget to subscribe, right? So you guys take care and have a good one. Later.